following on us anymore. I chose not to quit my job, but I still loved it with all the heartbreak and I really needed the benefits. Like I'm the only one I know who is having a 3 weeks paid vacation around Christmas and New Year. I never see my boss anyway and she'd do is to even know of my existence. My husband eventually stopped being active on Instagram and I thought it was normal because we were going through adversity's union yesterday when his brother shared my husband's stories of the night.
Oh no, I know this. Oh, I need the music. I need some music for this part. I need some music. Hello, they appear. Never mind, they haven't appeared.
Holding a woman's hand. I could only see her hand. So my husband has just blocked me and my family and friends from seeing these updates. I commented what? And this morning my husband called me. For the first time in a month. Totally scared and started begging, please don't ruin this for me. Please don't ruin this for me. I told him, what do you mean? He said, don't tell her about us. I never made the connection at first. It never ever crossed my mind either. That woman in the picture was my boss. I started crying and screaming at him. How could you do this to me? How could you tell my dad it was? All in my head when it's obviously all over your Instagram. He said it just happened. I dumped him and he was single and just happened to find her on Bumble. He begged me not to ruin this for him. She knows he's in the process of divorce, but she doesn't know that he already knew who she was or that she was the boss of his STDX. They have been seeing each other for 6 weeks, about 2 weeks after I asked him to move, and it is getting serious. He begged for a good 5 minuets telling me how he hasn't been this happy in all his life and that I shouldn't ruin his happiness since, again, I was the one who ended our marriage. I have been crying since this morning. I don't know what to do. I want to ruin him and his happiness, but I don't know if I have any right to do that and I'm so worried about losing my job. Please help. New information. Okay, my husband has been calling me non-stop and I have now answered him. He is panicking about me telling her everything, so he begged me to give him the chance to tell her himself. His words were, I never stalked her or creeped on her. I just fell for her and was scared that she would think I was creepy since you thought the same. Give me a chance to tell her the truth in my own pace so at least she doesn't think I'm a liar or a freak like you seem to think. He still swears they matched on Bumble. I didn't know what that is until now, but it is like Tinder. I'm just devastated right now. He has no regards for me and my feelings. Everything he is thinking of is not to scare her away. When I told him this, he said that I was the one who left him. People fall out of love and that okay and no one's fault, and that I was in the right for ending the relationship, but I was the one who ended it all the same. Don't hurt us and I promise to give you everything you want. She is happy with me, so don't hurt us. Update. I talked to my boss yesterday, Monday, after lunch. I told her everything. Basically how I was so happy I found this job. How? I looked up to her and was proud to be working for someone like her, and that this rubbed off on my husband, who grew more obsessed with her each day. I apologized for using obsessed because I didn't know how things were between them, but that it was how I perceived his feelings. I told her about the day of the movie and how it basically made me realize that our issues were greater than I thought. I told her that I know and accept that my marriage is over and that my husband didn't love me anymore, and that the reason I'm telling her now isn't to judge or blame her, but to let her know the whole story, because it's just fair that she knows that he has been following her life for over a year now. Because from what I understood from my husband, you were under the impression that you just matched with him on a dating app, I said. She was silent the whole time I was talking, just listening to me until I mentioned the dating app, and that's when she interrupted me. That's not how we met. He has been a patron at my gym for the past 6 months, maybe years, she said. I know her gym. It's the one across our workplace. She works out there every morning before coming work. I didn't know he enjoyed it because I knew him to be a member at the gym near our home. He has been, without telling me, working out just across the street from me every morning without telling me. She looked like how I felt, shocked. I apologized and told her that he has kept dating her a secret from me and that he begged me not to talk to her, telling me that he hasn't been this happy and so on. She didn't say much, just thanked me for telling her. Today she asked if she could talk to me. She apologized for everything that happened to me and asked if I needed any help. I said no. She thanked me again. When I got home, my husband was there. He had called me at least 50 times, but my phone was on silent. He was crying, calling me bitter and vindictive and pathetic. He said I ruined his relationship and future. She is scared of him now and it is all my fault. He wants me to tell her that he is not dangerous, nor is he a pervert. He wants me to tell her that I was the one who wanted a divorce and that people fall out and in love and it is nobody's fault and neither is it creepy. He hasn't done anything wrong. He stayed faithful to me and would have stayed that way if I didn't kick him out. He asked me if I ever felt unsafe with him to make rumors about him being a stalker and a creep. I should tell the truth. I asked him to leave and that I'm starting the divorce and from now on he could only contact me once I got a lawyer through them. I have been crying since he left. We hadn't seen each other for weeks and he had no feelings whatsoever for me. He looked demented and full of sorrow like a broken little boy. How could he change this fast? Before we separated, he held me and begged me to believe him and his love for me. Was it all a lie? My whole entire relationship. Good night. My coward ex has tried to get me back. After he let his mother torture me for years. My ex and I were married for well over 5 years and together for 10. His mother was a nightmare. She would spend her time belittling me and try humiliating me. I could take it as I loved my husband and didn't want to make him choose between her or me. Of course, I would always tell him what she would be doing, and he would always brush it off as her being a loving and overprotecting mom. When she would say something racist, I'm Hispanic and they are white, he would laugh it off. When she would make a comment of me being a gold digger, even though I earned more than my ex, he would just say, oh mom. He would also get mad at me if I ever stood up for myself. But the straw that broke the camel's back is when we had our daughter. My mother-in-law would always try to parent her and say that I would do something wrong. My daughter has an irritable colon and she cannot ingest any kind of oils or artificial things. And guess what that movie of a woman did? She fed my 3-year-old daughter essential oils. She is not anti-vax, just very stupid, to make her go to sleep. She was in the ICU. I had it and I confronted my husband who said, she only did what she thought was best. I lost it. I went to my parents and drafted a divorce agreement. That's the best course of action. I saw a post earlier describing a situation that is much more dangerous than mine involving allergens and an EpiPen. His face was like that Pikachu meme when I served him. He didn't know why I was doing that because we were happy. So now a year has passed and my life was hell. My monster-in-law tried every dirty trick in the book to take my daughter. To name a few, she accused my brother of inappropriately touching her. She accused me of neglect. She accused me of taking substances and leaving them in reach of a toddler. I take Thyroxin for heaven's sake. She accused me of endangering my daughter by leaving a random man in my house, and the list goes on. During this time, the excuse of my ex was that I broke his heart and I had to understand his mother. She only wants what's best for him. Luckily, I got good representation and even got my daughter full-time minus some weekends or visitation. I could prove that my daughter was endangered by his mother. I knew that my ex needed to be permanently in my life because of my daughter, and I was learning to live with that. He was very cold with me because, again, I broke his heart. Now 2 things have come together. My ex-brother-in-law got married to an African-American woman, so of course my ex-mother-in-law flipped. I started dating again. My ex-brother-in-law is a great guy and he actually stood up for his wife. Go figure. It is possible. I stay in contact with him because we are friends and he was a mediator involved with his brother quite often. So my brother-in-law actually stood up for his wife and my ex-husband got his panties in a twist. My brother-in-law basically opened his eyes to how crappy he was being, and that their mom treated me the same way she treated his wife. And finally my dad's ex started understanding. The guy I am seeing is great. I have even met his parents and his mother is normal. She treats me like a human being and has invited me already to many family functions and tries to make me and my daughter feel welcomed. My ex got wind from the situation through a mutual friend and guess who is now flipping his crap? He started bringing flowers and chocolate. I don't even like chocolate. To pick up our daughter. He sends me cards and texts with hearts and who knows what. Yesterday was the best thing. My daughter was at my mother's place and I was at home with my boyfriend. He appears in front of my door crying and clutching my engagement ring begging me to come back. I said no and that he should go away. He wouldn't and started demanding that I come out to talk to him. My boyfriend told him that he would call the police, and in his pathetic fashion he threatened to beat my boyfriend up. I closed the door and let him pound sand.
I trusted you all.
Day trip, and when they came back my daughter was asking if I loved my boyfriend more than her. Now I am at a loss to what to do. I already told my daughter that it was impossible because my love for her is infinite and there is nothing bigger than infinite. But now I know that my ex is trying to make my daughter hate me. I am at a loss because I won't use my daughter as ammunition. But also, what the hell am I supposed to do? I will never return to that man, but I can't take away the father of my daughter. Do you guys have any advice? I don't care if he wants me back. I don't love him anymore and will never get back together with him. Staying for the sake of our daughter would not make sense as it has been proven that kids grow up happier in divorced homes than unhappy homes. I tried talking to my husband when we were still married and he would always brush it off. He would brush off everything his mother did. I complained to him and told him we needed to go to therapy, which he declined.
Oh, there.
He has his daughter on the weekends. The court gave me majority custody because of his mother. I followed some advice you guys gave me and we sat down with my daughter to chit-chat. We knew we couldn't prompt any kind of responses by asking overly specific questions as per her therapist. So my mother asks my daughter, let's call her Kat. Kat, what do you and Daddy talk about? And Kat just listed many toddler things like she talks about kindergarten, games, etc. When I was kind of relieved that that comment my ex made yesterday may just be a one-off, came the big bomb. He also shows me pictures of houses and tells me I can have now 2 rooms with loads of stuff. I ask if her dad is buying a new house.
That's smart.
No. Turns out that Nut wants to take my daughter out of the country. He shows her pictures of beach houses and even bought her a bag so she can put her stuff inside it, which explains why so many of her clothes have gone missing. At first I thought that maybe my ex hadn't told me yet because it hadn't come through. But no, he told my daughter to keep this as a secret because mommy would get sad if she knew that daddy was going away. I didn't have enough evidence to request an ex-party, also known as emergency child custody. So my lawyer and I had to work on steps to prevent child abduction. We got a custody decree that included provisions including passports, travel restrictions, etc., we also had to be very wary of the signs. He in fact quit his job, and on a realtor's page, I saw that he was putting his mother's house on sale. That, in my daughter's words, was all we needed to notify law enforcement for them to keep an eye out. I couldn't prevent my daughter from seeing her father. We tried to continue business as usual without my daughter feeling something was up. I got a call from the police department regarding the passport situation. My daughter's passport had expired very recently. 5 years validity. My ex-husband had tried to request a passport for my daughter without my knowledge, which was stupid because even without the decree, I had to be present or submit a notarized document of me stating that he could request the passport. After that, things actually went very fast. He was investigated because he violated the decree, and it was found out that mother-in-law had bought 3 tickets with no return date to Mexico. I could request an ex-party. After a crap ton of documents, I submitted it. In most cases, the judge will evaluate behind closed doors. We had the hearing yesterday. It takes usually 10 to 20 days, which was very good for me. At the moment, I have sole custody for my daughter. This is all temporary. My ex has visitation rights if I was present, but he can't take her anywhere. This is once the investigation of him is closed. I was cursed out by my ex and ex-mother-in-law, and they said they will try to contest this, but they have no leg to stand on. My daughter will continue in therapy, especially after this. I will not prohibit him from seeing her, but he needs help. My coward ex is trying to get me back after he let his mother my husband.
No clue.
My wife gave birth to a black baby. We're both white, and our baby looks just like her best friend. My wife, 30,
Damn.
and I, 31, have been in a happy marriage for 6 years. The reason why I put happy in quotes is because it was all a lie. We have been trying for a child for 3 years now. We tried everything. Calendars of her ovulation, different positions, fertility treatments, etc. When I went to the doctor, they said my sperm count was low, but it was still possible for me to have kids. It felt like we were never going to have a child of our own. I was about to give up and look into the idea of adoption when my wife surprised me. She blindfolded me and brought me to a room full of clothes. She made me pick up each piece of clothing, and guess who it was for? They were all small, and I was confused as hell. That's when she told me she was pregnant. I was thrilled. I bought everything we needed for the baby. I took care of her every need. All I cared about was that she was my wife, and we were finally getting a product of our love. When she gave birth, I was the one holding her hand while she screamed and pushed. I was the picture-perfect husband. When our baby boy was born, we were ecstatic, but there was something that immediately caught our attention. He had dark skin. Like, really dark skin. It's impossible for him to be ours biologically given our backgrounds. We're both European, when our skin is so pasty that a bruise would stick out like a sore thumb. I thought we were happy that we finally got our dream of having a baby, but there's no way this baby is mine. It's all starting to make sense. Her best friend is a black man. I mean, if I look at the baby closely, I can see his nose. I can She said there had been some sort of mix-up. I told her that her and her BBC can have their happy little family now. She was sobbing when I left, but I refused to look at her at all. Her and her family have been blowing my phone up, begging me to give her a chance to explain. I love her, but I can't have some black dude ruin my life forever. Turns out I'm just a jerk. After weeks of ignoring her and telling all of our friends that she was from the streets, she forced me to listen to her. We had Life 360 with each other, and I absolutely forget I had the end. She tracked me down to a nearby McDonald's and nearly dragged me away by my ear. I don't hit women, so I just let her. She brought me to her car, and I literally thought she was about to unalive me or make me watch her in her little BBC action. She pulled out some paperwork and shoved it in my face. It was a maternity test. Turns out she grabbed my toothbrush and hairs and compared it to the little black baby's DNA. It was a match. I could hear Maury screaming, "You were the father," in my ears. I was so embarrassed. I started to try to apologize to her. She just slapped me, then hugged me. It was the worst whiplash I've had in my life. She dragged me off to her house, and my mom was there. It was like some sort of intervention. Turns out, I'm not completely past it. My mother admitted to cheating on my father years ago with some BBC dude. Turns out I'm an affair baby. My father had some suspicions for years, but when I was born, he finally stopped bugging her about it. Why? She couldn't have cheated because I was white, just like him. I think I'm sort of medical history. The black gene skipped a generation. I turned out white and she got away with it. When she saw that I left because of my black baby, she contacted my wife and explained, "My wife is just an innocent victim to all this." Now that I think of it, he and her black best friend who have a similar nose. Maybe his father is my father. I apologized to my wife and begged on my knees for her to forgive me. She said that as long as I use my new BBC status on her, she'll take me back. Maybe we'll have more next babies. I have a lot of making up to do.
The list is a resource
the first month of my son's life.
We found our
My
safe
wife
space
gave
to
birth
hold
to a
up in all
black
this chaos.
If my overseer's here anyway, I'll come straight to you. Time for drinks. I hope you
to tell my
don't.
brother,
It'll make this business pass on so quickly.
but not my sister's current boyfriend. Plus update, I think he might flip on the 40.
Lock?
Year old
The
girl.
servants
We
must
grew
have
up
been
without a
in
father,
here.
and our mother is very sick / struggles with drug issues.
I have
My
the
older
wrong
brother,
one.
20.
Not that one.
5, practically raised me, 19,
Here we are.
and my sister
Now,
just
if
turned
I've got
18. We still live in my mother's
Then
house,
we'll
however, she
come to
pays